Been saying for months now, we believe in this group. We believe in our players. And we knew we would continue to build, and we're going to continue to build. But the one thing people said, what do you expect? And I said, I expect that our team is going to fight for this city. We're going to fight for this city every time. And you went out there today, and you fought for this city, and you sent a message. You sent a message to our fans. You sent a message to the rest of the league. When you play Cincinnati, you're in for a fight! For a fight! Yeah. Great goal! We've been saying.
Welcome into the pre-match meeting, show 3, but week 4 of the MLS season. Tom Glarder, Alex Steck. Tommy, are you fired up now after that speech from Jeff Birding?
Pretty exciting. Not surprising to see Jeff that excited after the win last Sunday at Nippert Stadium, 3-0 the final score, and just a magical home opener for the Orange and Blue.
Absolutely. FC Cincinnati are facing the New England Revolution tonight. Kickoff is at 4, and we are right next door to Gillette Stadium where all the action is going to go down. But looking back to last week, these guys got 3 points. That's after another point in Atlanta. But the home opener, I mean, that was a historic night for this club.
It was. I mean, your first inaugural home match in Major League Soccer, and you have Portland coming in, a team that was the defending Western Conference champions from last year, obviously lost to Atlanta in MLS Cup, and you come out and you have 3 different guys score goals, 3 different styles of goals, but all great build-ups by the team, all great plays, and it was very exciting to see that great moment, 32,000 plus on hand for the game, and what I thought was interesting, of all the expansion teams in the last 10 years, that's the biggest margin of victory in 10 years, going all the way back to Seattle's first home game almost 10 years ago to the date, with FC Cincinnati winning 3-0 with that margin. So I thought it was a very cool experience for the city, multiple goosebump moments throughout the match, and I don't think that should have surprised anybody.
And a ton of firsts for the Orange and Blue on that night, including the first shutout. Spencer Ritchie, what a performance by him. He had 3 saves, 2 of them back-to-back in the 32nd minute. I think everyone's jaws kind of dropped in that moment. And, of course, he was honored with MLS Team of the Week.
Yeah, deservedly so. And Kevin and I talked about it after the match, that you go back to those 2 saves about a half an hour into the match, and I think that's really a turning moment in the entire match. If you want a moment of the match, I'd go back to those 2 saves by Spencer, because if Portland gets an equalizer there and gets a little bit of confidence, you don't know how the match plays out. Sure, could FC Cincinnati have won? Absolutely. But could have been a completely different final 60 minutes if they sneak one of those past. Spencer was very brave and has been so impressive these last 2 matches. Not only allowing 1 to Joseph Martinez in Atlanta's prolific attack, but then turning around at home with all that pressure and the Bailey over his shoulder, playing that first home match in Cincinnati and answering the bell again.
He's faced 7 total shots and saved 6 of them. So we'll see another good performance tonight. But coming up, we're going to have Charlie Davies join us, a former Revs player, U.S. men's national team player, and an expert for MLS Digital.
Absolutely.
And we also have international call-ups. Plenty more to cover on the show coming up soon.
And it's dressed.
Well, that is the next home match for FC Cincinnati next weekend, March 30th, presented by SeatGeek against the Philadelphia Union. But today, we're facing the New England Revolution, and we have Charlie Davies joining us. Charlie is a former MLS player, spent time with the New England Revolution, as well as the U.S. men's national team, time in Europe. And now you also help out at MLS Digital, as well as being a club ambassador. Charlie, thank you for joining us.
Not busy at all.
That's right, not busy at all.
No, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here, and I'm excited for how you've come into the league as a club and have really made this big splash, and everyone is excited for your franchise.
What do you think that's doing for the league as a whole, for MLS, FC Cincinnati's growth?
It's showing how popular the sport is and what the sport can do for a city. When you see the pictures of everyone in the streets of Cincinnati bought into the club and supporting the club, and then that monumental win, 3-0 at home in the home opener, was special, and everyone was proud to say we're a part of this league, and we're proud to see FC Cincinnati do so well.
Charlie, as a club ambassador for New England and someone who played for the U.S. national team, obviously you've seen this sport over the last 20, 30 years grow in the country. Do you pinch yourself now when you see scenes like you saw in Cincinnati and what's happened in Atlanta in the last 2 years? You've lived this expansion era, and how much the league has transformed over the last 10, 15 years?
You know, growing up in New England, we didn't have anything until 1996. Yeah. And so for me, it was just basically seeing the league grow from 1996 all the way up until, I left college and had to make a decision whether to go to Europe, which was to kind of follow my dream, or to go to the MLS, and I chose Europe. If I knew or if the league was where it is now back then, I'm not so sure I would have chose Europe. And to see Atlanta last year in the MLS Cup final, that's where I really had the pinch myself moment. I could not believe how far the sport has come in this country, and the supporters and the euphoria around matches. And to see Cincinnati this year continue that trend of, wow, what a sport can do for a city and how it brings everyone together. It's so special, and that's what's great about a sport.
Having spent almost 4 seasons with the Revs, now under the direction of Brad Friedel, an Ohio native, Lakewood, Ohio, there's 6 homegrown players on the roster now, 3 of those who have joined since he's taken over. What are the biggest changes that you've seen since he's become head coach?
The biggest changes with Brad Friedel are his demand on the players day in, day out in training, bringing that European mentality to the Revs, which they've never had before. So to have that is special. And then his emphasis on the youth development and giving them chances. So this year, it's more of his team now. He feels like this is his team. Everyone's who's on the roster wants to be on the roster and wants to be here, and that's special. So now it's continuing to push his ideology on the squad, and hopefully they can make those strides to get into the playoffs this year.
Well, they went out and made a big splash in his first year, bringing in Carlos Gil. He's been as advertised for the Revolution, especially this year. Started the season, all 3 goals so far have been courtesy of Carlos Gil. What makes him so hard to defend out on the pitch?
Well, initially, they wanted to bring in a player who could change the game for the Revs. A player that can get on the ball, feel comfortable, score on free kicks, open up the field for everyone, and is unselfish. I think the big part about Carlos's game that no one knows about is he's the biggest locker room guy. He's a guy that brings everyone together, and no matter how much people look up to him to deliver on the field, he's delivering off the field as well. And what makes him so special on the field is his ability to keep the ball close. His first touch is magnificent. The ball sticks to his foot. He's played in La Liga, he's played in EPL, and he's done well. So when you play in the best leagues in the world and you have that experience and you can bring it into a locker room, that's what guys thrive off of.
New England's done a great job so far in the first 3 matches of putting pressure on their opponents and forcing turnovers in the attacking third. What other elements of their game have you seen them capitalize on throughout these first few?
So the first 3 games of this year have been tough, just due to the fact that they went away in Dallas, which is not an easy place to play. They didn't perform the way they wanted to against Columbus at home, and then they went away to Toronto. They felt like they played well, and there was a missed call, or a controversial call, if you will. But they still battled. They were able to tie it, and they let it get away at the end of the game. So it's a team that is trying to figure out a balance. When do we press? When do we get aggressive? Do we stay aggressive the whole game? Do we sit back when we have the lead? Do we continue to try and pile on? So for them, it's trying to figure out how do we move forward. They have an idea, but they haven't been able to execute it yet.
When you look at this club, and you've talked about the homegrown products that are coming up through, a couple are out on loan right now, but there's a lot of youth on this team. Tajon Buchanan, who's out with a stress fracture, just joined the club. Who's one of the guys or two of the guys right now that are part of this roster that you're really excited to see what they can bring, maybe not today, but in the future?
Justin Renix is a player that comes to mind, coming out of Indiana this past year. So he's a guy that I've seen from when he was 14 years old. He was training with us here at Gillette Stadium, and I remember thinking, wow, this kid's 15 years old, and he's training with the first team. It's pretty special, one, for a young kid to train with us, but two, you could see that he had talent. And now I've seen him in this preseason, and I'm like, wow, this kid has really developed. You know, he's developed into his body, he's strong, he feels confident, and so when he comes back from his national team trip, I would like to see how far he goes.
You talk about Justin Renix. He's with the U.S. men's national team U20s right now with Frankie Amaya of FC Cincinnati. Couple guys from each side on international duty. You having that experience playing in international matches, how does that affect the club back home?
Well, when you come back, you try and bring everything that you learned back with you. And guys, especially around his age, of how was the national team camp? Who'd you play with? What'd you see? And so you want to continue to build. The pressure is on you to come back and continue to deliver so you can get another call-up. So I think when you think about a club and you have national team players, it's almost like there's a pride factor, but there's also like a factor where you think, man, we have young kids who we can develop that have class, and that's what you're trying to do. That's what you're trying to produce. So if he can continue to progress, which is difficult because he has a lot of good players in his position, but when he gets that chance, he's got to take it.
I'd imagine, too, for the guys who aren't on international call-ups, and this affects both clubs today, as well as clubs across Major League Soccer. We saw some results yesterday, but that it's an opportunity for you, right? Maybe you aren't starting, maybe you're a late match sub, and now you are going to start in a match this weekend. It's the type of thing you have to make the most of it.
You do. I remember as a player coming into a team in Europe where national team guys would have to leave for call-ups, and, you know, you had friendlies, and those were my times to shine. You only get one chance, and that's the chance, and you have to take it. And if you don't, you got to reset and go start back from ground one, where it's work, and you got to wait for another opportunity, which comes from either an injury or a suspension or now the national team trip. So guys in Cincinnati, they have to be feeling like this is my opportunity to go out and make an impact and deliver, because if I do, I'm justifying I deserve time on the field. So even when those national team guys do come back and maybe they're not playing as good as they are or should or can, they'll get an opportunity coming off the bench, and then that's when they have to really take it.
So some opportunities for guys tonight. Also, the Revs have potentially 3 players coming back from injury. A couple guys last week, they got to come back into the lineup. And you have Andrew Farrell, who might come back as well after being out. What are your expectations for this match? How do you see it playing out when the Revs are especially looking to get points at home?
So the Revs, they know FC Cincinnati's missing some very crucial players. One in particular, Kendall Waston. He's one of the players that you look at that he could probably fit into any MLS team. He's a strong, capable center back. He understands the game. He's physical, and he has that leadership quality that everyone craves. So as a Revolution player, I have to be thinking, this is our time. Not only one, we're playing at home, but this is our time. With them missing their best piece in the defensive line to attack, we have to be aggressive. We need the points at home. It's not panic time yet for the Revolution, but it's desperation time. It's time to get desperate and time to be more aggressive at home. So if I'm a FC Cincinnati fan, I would expect Revolution to push really high, trying to attack, and Cincinnati should look to counter, because I think there's going to be a lot of times in the game today that there'll be opportunities to counter, and FC Cincinnati has to be clinical when they get the chance.
Great insight for tonight's match. Thank you so much for joining us, Charlie. When we return, we're going to talk about some of those international absences and FC Cincinnati's keys to victory. Welcome back into the pre-match meeting. I'm Alex Steck, my co-host Tom Galerder. We're in New England, ready to face the Revolution tonight at 4 o'clock.
Absolutely. It's a little frigid this morning right now in Foxborough, but it's supposed to be beautiful by 4 o'clock, mid-50s, sun shining. I already went over to Gillette, checked everything out. Our truck is there. The pitch looked great, and they were getting ready for this match. Match day number 4 for FC Cincinnati, and I think it's going to be a very exciting day. Talked about the international call-ups, and that's certainly, I think, the storyline for Alan Koch and the Orange and Blue is how do they manage the situation, how do they manage the 11, how do they manage the 18, 19 different players have appeared already this season. I think that number is going to go up. 14 different players have started. Right. That number is going to go up, and just because of the situation, Alan's forced into making some changes, and like Charlie said, a lot of opportunity there for FC Cincinnati.
Yeah, 5 guys on international duty for the Orange and Blue. 3 of those guys started the last game against Portland, plus Darren Maddox came in, had a huge impact coming in at halftime. So you are missing those pieces, but on international duty, they all got the starts, so they're, you know, it's worth their time. Yeah. They're getting out there, they're getting minutes, getting that opportunity with their countries. Frankie Amaya, the U.S. men's national team U20s, they were down 2-0, then came back to get a draw. Alvis Powell, Darren Maddox, they both started for Jamaica, as well as Alan Cruz, Kendall Waston.
They all played 90 minutes too, right? None of them came out, so it was a worthwhile. And Charlie talked about it. What an incredible experience for them to go out to show the world what they can do on that stage and just increase their opportunities.
And Frankie Amaya back in action coming up tomorrow against Japan. And then the teammates get to face each other. Costa Rica against Jamaica.
That's going to be, yeah, I think that's pretty fun, right? Darren Maddox is going to be running at Kendall Waston all of a sudden instead of running with him in training. So I think it's certainly a great opportunity. Should be fun for those guys. Would imagine that all 4 will see the pitch again, and you know, we may have to find a stream to check that out on Monday night.
And we also have to give a shout out to Emery Welshman with Guyana. He scores the game winner. This is the first big international tournament that they've ever qualified for, the Gold Cup. He gets the game winner. He draws 2 penalties, essentially. The first one, he passes it to the guy who gets fouled. The next one, he gets fouled. So creating great opportunities for them.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, congratulations to Emery. And like we said, a lot of guys out on international duty, and that's the name of the game. That's how this sport works. You want that to be the case. And now Alan has to make the decisions. You know, it was made public this week. Fernando Adi's not on the trip, so he will not play today. And that's where Darren Maddox, maybe he could have slid into the starting 11, but now he is not here. So a lot of decisions for the technical staff and Alan to make leading up to 4 p.m. and see how things shake out. But again, opportunities for guys to step in, and I think he has a very solid core of guys who have played in the first 3 matches to set everything up.
Do you think FC Cincinnati changes its formation, its playing style at all? How do they approach this game with those guys?
I don't think there's any need to change the formation, right? It's worked the last 2 times out. 4 points in the last 3 games against, oh, by the way, the 2 teams who played in the MLS Cup final in December. So you don't need to shake that up. You have bodies that are interchangeable and people that you can slide into different positions. You have Greg Garza working his way back, and Kenny Safe, who did not play against Portland, but obviously had the assist on the game-tying goal in Atlanta. So I think you got guys who can play in different slots. You just got to figure out what exactly they are and where they all fit together and how many minutes somebody like Greg Garza is available for as he, you know, works his way back from his injury. But he's played the last 2 matches, and so I think it's exciting, right? Because guys are going to step out and play more than we've ever seen from them.
And you have that midfield partnership developing between Leo Bertone, Victor Ulloa. Those guys have both been extremely effective for FC Cincinnati. You have Victor Ulloa, who led the team in passes, and his accuracy was on point, and then Bertone is leading them in shots with 5. So both of those guys creating opportunities. You also have Eric Alexander, another veteran of this league, and he's faced New England 13 times. He's no stranger to playing against the Revs. So plenty of guys that can step up to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talk about that defensive midfield partnership, and I think that's really big because everything starts from there, right? That's the communication between those two, and they've started alongside each other, you know, for the last 3 weeks. And you know, I don't think it'd be a surprise to anybody if they're out there alongside each other again today. And Matthew Duplan, who's been out there, he's played mostly at left back, but he can play on the right side as well, and he's done well no matter what he's been asked to do for Alan Koch. He can play center back if needed, and obviously Kendall Waston's not available, so that's another option for Alan as he tries to put all these puzzle pieces together. But I think, you know, like I said, there's guys who have played a whole lot, and there's going to be some guys who step in who haven't played a whole lot, and that's okay. This is a confident team following a 3-0 win last Sunday.
And Charlie Davies kind of talked about taking advantage of the counterattack. I think if Brad Knighton is the guy who steps in goal again, who's played the last 3 matches for the Revs, he's faced 10 shots. and 6 of them have been goals.
Yeah.
So I think these guys just need to take advantage of that counterattack and shoot the ball. Plus, Kikuta Mane played with him in Vancouver.
Yes.
So he's no stranger to Kikuta either.
Transition will be big today, and that's kind of been the case in the first 3 matches, right? FC Cincinnati's going to sit back. They're going to make sure they're solid defensively, and then try to hit you in the jaw when they're coming the other way. And it's worked out well. Kikuta has been so impressive in his 2 starts, I think.
Absolutely.
We saw the little joystick move last week at Nippert Stadium where he snuck away from 3 different guys, and that was awesome. Like, so I think that he's getting more and more confident. He's back in the league and feeling really good, and I think he's proving to be a huge pickup for the Orange and Blue. So I'm really excited to see what Kikuta continues to do and how he helps FC Cincinnati's attack.
I'm excited for a lot of things tonight, including seeing you on TV.
How about that? You get our smiling faces again. Kevin and I will be up in the booth. Of course, Lindsay down on the field. And no, we're thrilled. It's a very big production. We're fortunate New England does a great production here locally, so we kind of pair up with them. We have some of our own cameras. They have about 10 cameras. We'll have 13 cameras.
Amazing.
I think for today's match, there's goal cameras. Like I said, I already went over to the stadium, made sure the truck was there. We're ready to go. 4 o'clock will be the start on Star 64, and we're really excited about it all.
Yep. Star 64, of course, there are streaming options as well with Flow Sports and ESPN+. Listen on WDJO on the radio. Tommy, Kevin, and Lindsay will be over there as well. You can listen online at fccincinnati.com.
There's endless ways to find us.
Seriously.
Like if you can't tune in one way or the other via multiple video streams, Star 64, which is free and on your antenna, back in Cincinnati, or WDJO, tune-in app, fccincinnati.com. I mean, come on.
Or head to one of our pub partners. They're going to be showing the game.
They all got the game as well.
Watch with friends.
Right.
We'll see you guys at 4 o'clock at Gillette Stadium. For Tom Glader, I'm Alex Deck. Thanks for tuning in.